All right. It's 8 o'clock, so I believe we can get started now. Um, so I think we should start this by maybe introducing the idea of or the ideas that we've had for what the future holds for the Discord and how it looks and how it operates. Um, Cooper, Mr. Senior Hill, Ben, any of you guys want to take the mic here and maybe give a rundown of what we should expect here in the near future for changes in the Discord?
Okay, y'all want to talk Discord first, and then I can do like a brief pods thing. If y'all want to talk about Discord.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've been working on a lot of things. If you're a member, you've probably seen the members' channels and some hints of what's going on in the pod architecture that we've had going on that we tested with our first round of voting. It was, in my opinion, a really great success to see how well everybody performed and people really just creating a lot of production and doing a lot of really, really cool things. So we're rolling out, new channels for the community and for members, including something called the Gatehouse. So for early access, we know it's tough to stay up to date with all of the new information and notifications that are coming out in the Discord server. So we're going to have a little bit of a smoother entry into the server, as well as ways to, access more information in better and cleaner ways. So that's going to happen, as well as more visibility for members into the working groups. And for that information, I can pass that off to you, Mr. Senor.
Sure. Yeah. So we've sort of been on a 3 milestone journey this month for how we organize the execution within the community team. First was, we organized into some pods. Things like marketing, things like operations, dev, etc. Try to figure out what's the right amount, what's the right granularity. We launched that internally. Then we moved on to getting voting in place and making sure that we had the right process for request for comments, made sure that we had the right way to get snapshot voting in place. So what's coming next over the next week or two is going to be a consolidation of some of the pods. We have 8. We'll share what those are. I don't have them memorized off the top of my head, but we have 8 pods in place. That's where work will get done. That's where proposals will go through. There'll be also roles within those pods. There's 4 of them. One we call an attendant, then a caddy, a greenskeeper, and then a starter and core team. So we have this ability to, as people make contributions, they grow trust in the community. They grow trust amongst the community team. They can take on more and more responsibility, and then they get recognized and rewarded for that. And then as far as how, you might be sitting in the audience thinking, like, I've seen some of this pod stuff, how do I get involved? That's what we're going to make a lot easier. So ultimately, once you exceed a certain level of experience points, we want to reward people who are engaged in the community. You'll see a new set of channels available to you. And then each of those channels will have a very clear way to see sort of the roadmap for that pod, the mission for that pod, the description of that pod. There'll be people there in that pod who can answer questions. And then ultimately, you can take the time to understand, is this for you? Once you decide that, you can start giving feedback on ideas, starting to participate in proposals, starting to participate and contribute in projects. And then ultimately, depending on how much you contribute, how much time you have, what your skill sets are, then you can move up through those roles that I mentioned earlier. So we're pretty close on, sort of speccing everything out and just making a lot of the decisions amongst the community team, like how we want that to run. And we'll, hope to launch that pretty soon and we'll announce it. So just be on the lookout. And if you've been interested in pod stuff, but just didn't know what to do or how to get involved, that'll be real clear real soon. And a lot of that will show as the Discord starts to change. So happy to answer questions. I'm going to have to hop you off here in a second, but happy to answer questions in Discord if people have. Just mention me in either Clubhouse or members chat.
Thank you, Mr. Senior Hill. Hello, Mike. Welcome up here.
Hey, what's up, friends? How are you?
Good.
Good.
We just went over pod structure and
Amazing.
what we expect for the future. And I think we can probably move on now to our next topic at hand. So we've done a lot of discussion about in real life events here coming up, and I wonder if we can maybe tap into your brain here, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think so. One, just want to thank everybody who's been working uh, tirelessly on the in real life event concepts. Like it's to me, it's pretty much like it's why we're doing this, and it's the most exciting um, part of LinksDAO, right? Obviously, until we have acquired, and created, renovated if we choose to, whatever we decide to do with the first, proper that we have ownership of, we're going to be, hosting in real life events in a formal, so we'll call it like a semi-formal to formal way, and then many ad hoc things like Cooper, for example, meeting up with a bunch of folks in New York, this week, and many other things that I've seen that over the past month have been awesome. Just different community members meeting up, all over the world. But in terms of planning our first event, call it our first sort of official, air quotes, LinksDAO event, one that would require significant effort from community members, from founding leadership, that would require use of the brand. What we uncovered is basically a really set of interesting questions about how the community and how the DAO has, and it relates to and has interplay with the corporate entity. So just wanted to spend some time tonight talking about that at a high level. We've spent a considerable amount of time over the past month. Some of the folks who were part of the founding team with fantastic, legal advisors and other advisors to, figure out moving forward in the near term, and then in the long term, what our options are in terms of how we spend funds and how we effectively, really the only issue at play is how we spend funds out of the DAO, not how we decide, the things that we're planning to do and that we want to do as a community. So, since well before the NFT drop, well, I mean, there were only 2 weeks before the NFT drop, but we were, saying this, from the outset of the project, and basically made it clear at the time, of the membership drop. There is a LinksDAO Inc. corporate entity that exists. That corporate entity is the organization that sold the NFTs to the members who hold them today. That is essential. That's an essential structure that basically protects people who have purchased the NFTs in the future, protects the people who have sold them from a whole host of legal and potentially regulatory issues. But these NFTs were sold, and the terms of service were very clear. Were sold as collectibles by a corporation. The biggest reason for that is because the corporation will pay tax. So LinksDAO Inc. will pay tax on the proceeds of the NFT sale. If you think about all the regulatory and legal bodies in the U.S., the IRS is, that's the one that you really answer to. So just want to make it very crystal clear up front. The corporation, LinksDAO Inc., sold the NFTs and will pay corporate taxes on that sale. Okay. As part of that, as part of that obligation, and frankly, that's the only structure in talking to lawyers, like we've talked to formally 4 different top notch legal groups, and informally to numerous other ones. That's the only structure that works. And as we made clear from the beginning of the project, what we sold was NFTs that are collectibles that give governance rights over effectively what I would call an advisory board rights, and future membership purchasability into the LinksDAO membership clubs that are created. Okay, so by purchasing NFT, the benefits, as stated from the beginning, are the ability to vote on a broad range of issues, rules, member rules of the club perks, events that we host, golf course broad location and recommendations over selection when we actually have the physical courses, branding, brand partnerships, influencer partnerships, donations, which we've talked about, and in real life meetups. So that's all good. And by the way, the community has been doing an incredible job of that, right? So I feel like we're in a really, really good place there. And we're getting more formal about how we will effectively execute on that stuff moving forward, through the pod structure. The corporation, has responsibility for things like ultimate control, meaning like the corporation controls the treasury legally. What that means in practicality, we'll just use the example of South by Southwest, is that we would plan to act in accordance with how the DAO and the community votes. So, basically put forth a proposal, which is happening on the South by Southwest event. It has a broad range of components to it. It sort of costs X. And so basically we put the entirety and the parameters of that event up to vote. Hey, the location, the overall, everything that's happening. We can even put up like what we expect it to cost. Okay, so all these things go up, and folks within the DAO and within the membership community vote. And if it passes, great. Then what happens is the LinksDAO Inc., the folks who today control the multisig, basically take that recommendation, that advisory recommendation from the DAO, and based on the process that we've had today, release those funds towards ensuring that event happens. Okay. The thing that doesn't exist today is the DAO specifically and the community specifically does not have explicit control over the funds. Meaning, I think there's something like $9 million or some number of funds sitting in the Gnosis safe, under the LinksDAO Inc. Control, the multi-sig control. Today, if the DAO, for example, just an extreme circumstance, if the entirety of the DAO voted to move those funds tomorrow, into, I don't know, just some other account and pay them out in equal sums to every NFT holder, that would be a recommendation, but not something that, for example, the LinksDAO Inc. would have to act on. So point is, I'm making a very explicit distinction between, today, the membership community recommendations and how the DAO votes as an advisory board on treasury matters. And, ultimately, the corporation having the ultimate responsibility to impact and make those decisions. In addition, as we've discussed from the beginning, the corporation has a responsibility to go out and actually buy the course, manage the course, operate the course, operate multiple courses over time, and do a whole host of other things. And again, this gets back to what we talked about. for more than a month. There's two separate entities here. There's the DAO membership community, and then there's the corporation. The corporation acts in service of that membership community, who acts as an advisory board to the corporation. In addition, there's a bunch of things that, for example, won't have any bearing on corporate activities. And that could be, the DAO, for example, making recommendations to make grants for, again, it could be charity. It could be, a specific technical initiative. It could be, I can't even imagine the things. But the point is, the default position of everybody I've spoken with involved in this project is that within reason, as long as it's something that the DAO recommends, it goes up for proposal and it's voted on in a reasonable way, that it should have it should have approval. But I just want to draw a very, very, very clear distinction between a DAO vote, for example, to spend $200,000 on a specific event for a specific purpose, would not be a sort of legally enforceable vote under the current construct of how our DAO to corporate relationship works, and under the legal auspices that we operate under. So I'll just kind of pause there. But by the way, we have documentation in draft form that kind of shows the breakout between the DAO committees and scope, the corporate scope, and I know the way I'm explaining it now sounds very formal and very sober, but like the point here being that we have to be extra careful to ensure that we're not that the DAO itself is not operating as any sort of a for-profit entity, any sort of a partnership that controls a treasury for a whole host of legal reasons. And for those reasons, the DAO and the community membership makes recommendations that we're able to enact as a corporation. And then we will have folks in the pods who will then be responsible to disperse the funds and ensure that these things, like, for example, the South by Southwest event, go off, or that then we have the freaking time of our life. I think it's going to be just unbelievable. So I'll pause there.
Well, thank you. Cooper, if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mike, for clearing all that up and going through the eminently professional route of taking care of all of these legal questions, doing due diligence, making sure that all of our I's are dotted and T's are crossed to make sure that, we can actually go out and achieve our goal of, creating the world's best golf and leisure club and working with this membership community to, make all of these things possible, right? I think that going about this in the right way is absolutely been the hallmark of everything that LinksDAO has done so far, and I just want to appreciate those remarks. This all kind of came to a head because, as I hinted in the announcement for this podium, we're working on a South by Southwest golf event. In real life golf for LinksDAO members. And we've been working on it really hard in the pods. Got to give a big shout out to Joe and Ryan Perquette for their really hard work in the events pod, in putting a lot of that stuff together. And in developing,
my feeling is that has to happen, right? And now we just need to. Sorry to interrupt you, Coop. And I haven't been as involved as you have been, so I'd love to just kind of catch up and I want to make sure that this event that literally everybody that I've spoken with and have seen wants to have it happen, have it be amazing, and have it be our sort of flagship first event. We have the resources for it. We have the people who are planning it in an amazing way. So we just need to make sure that we approve it in the correct manner.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. So, all these questions about, this is the budget for A, B, and C. We want to have 18 holes of golf on a Friday, pitch and putt, and then 18 holes of golf the next day. All these things cost money, right? And so you did a great job and took the right course to go and find out exactly from the legal advisors and work out how all of that is going to function. And we're really, really excited to move into that phase where we're playing real golf. The merch shop's supposed to go up next month. We've got a lot of really cool and exciting partnerships and value coming to this community for all of the NFT holders. These kind of things need structure. DAOs are very experimental and very new, and making sure that, we're going about the right way to achieve these goals is crucial. So really appreciate the clarification. We're really, really excited to open up the working groups and pods to members to contribute because, like we said, we have this huge community with tons and tons of talented people that care a lot about LinksDAO, and allowing those contributions to result in actionable things like real golf events that we're working on for South by Southwest and future activations for members. That requires a structure, because at some point money in the treasury has to somehow go into go to these golf courses that we're booking. So I totally get where you're coming from with the DAO community versus corporate structure. And thanks for coming up here and explaining that. We do have some questions from the Podium questions.
And by the way, so what I'll quickly say is, though, nothing that I said prevents this from, like, point is, I'm encouraging this to go to a proposal, and effectively, my understanding from what I've looked at, what I've seen, is that folks have proposed, an incredible event with a budget that the people who are in the core committee have deemed reasonable, that everybody thinks will benefit the community, who's been deeply involved in planning this. It's time to put it up for proposal, right? The only point and critical distinction I'm making is that people voting aren't legally approving the budget. In other words, they're approving, making a recommendation, hey, we approve this event, and then effectively, at the corporate level, we just go, okay, great, stamp, that's wonderful, go do it, right? If that's the outcome. In other words, if people think it's as good as everybody who's been involved in the planning thinks it is. All right, yeah, so maybe throw it to some questions.
Right, Austin, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, for sure. Let me pull them up real quick. So I've got two questions from Podium right now. One is, with the Pro Shop coming up soon, will the products be offered at cost to NFT holders? If not, will the profits from the sales go to the corporation or towards the DAO treasury?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the profits from the sale of goods offered at cost to, so any profits, like the notion of profit and DAO treasury is, there isn't, like, there won't be, we have to, like, the DAO treasury can't be a profit generating entity. Like, that's effectively the entire reality of what we're doing. Is like, you can't basically have a collective treasury and a collective group of folks who are doing things in service of making profit towards a common treasury. That's just not allowed. So, and I think that's one of the points that I should stress. So, if there is any profit made off of things like merchandise sales, if there is any profit made off things like, brand partnerships, those are things that will accrue to the corporation. But by the way, like, I should say it more specifically. Any revenue generated by sales of XYZ will accrue to the corporation, just as sales of the NFT accrued to the corporation. Okay, so you have this corporate entity that will be recording the revenue. Okay, that revenue will again go against the costs that the corporation accrues: costs of operating golf courses, costs of employing folks, like, you name it. The so basically, the way, like, I would not think of the treasury that we're talking about as a pot of money that's sitting out there meant to, let's say, like, grow through the activity of the DAO today. That's not what it is. Like, today it has a phenomenal amount of money that, it being touched for corporate purposes to date. It's being touched in service of the members. What the sort of promise has been here since the beginning is that we're going to create the best membership experience such that every individual membership holder, hey, I hold an NFT. What am I getting for that? I'm participating in, one of the best communities personally that I think exists, online and in Web3. 2, I get perks, benefits, at different amazing golfing things. 3, I can buy a membership at a physical club in the future. And then, 4, like, I actually hold this NFT membership that if I don't want to join the membership club, hey, maybe somebody else does want to, and they can purchase that from me. So, I feel like to date, we've given an initial, set of, I think within a month of the sale, a little over a month now, some really exciting benefits to membership holders, to NFT holders, and continue to plan to do that. But the idea here is not that selling merchandise or, brand partnerships or other things will accrue to the DAO treasury. It will accrue to the corporation.
Awesome. Thank you so much. The second question I have before we can toss it to the audience is, do you perceive the DAO members holding governance rights to be a positive or negative in terms of fundraising? And if you've started raising funds, have you run into investors showing concern about that?
Yeah, 2 good questions. So positive in the sense that it's something that's completely novel and has never existed before. So people love it. Like, it's resonated more. Like, I've raised money, and the folks that I'm working with on this, and the community members who've been involved, like, I've never seen such a positive environment to a project that I've worked on. Like, I'm exuberant and excited. The key though is, we're clearly, like, this isn't kumbaya land. Like, we realize that, right? Like, we're getting great questions. Hey, like, does all the revenue that is generated accrue, like, somehow to NFT holders? Like, the answer is no. So the key is that we ensure that these 2 entities operate in extremely complementary ways, because ultimately, like, they're linked. They are, like, they are what makes this thing tick. And, basically the corporation exists in service of the membership. That's the exact point. And the membership advise LinksDAO Inc. on what this brand, what this community, what the choices that we make look like. Okay. Like, that's it. And the further thing that I'll say, and I've been saying this previously, but I hadn't said it tonight, is we will do everything in our power, and you have my deepest pledge, to ensure that folks who are members have the ability to participate additionally in ownership of the corporate entity to the extent that we're able to. In other words, the extent that it's allowed by law. If that means accredited, only accredited investors at first, if we can find other structures, but we want people to have the option to participate in both. Okay. But yeah, it's a positive, with the realization that it's a novel, tricky, exciting, but also scary thing.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for the answer. It sounds like we're going to keep going to the podium questions. So I have another one from someone who's asking if, as the regulatory landscape is complex, is it possible that the corporate entity will see formal DAO recognition in a jurisdiction such as Wyoming, where DAOs are legally recognized?
Yeah, so definitely not in the near term, because our understanding is that, well, so the corporation definitely won't. It's a good question as to whether we would find. I do have a deep yearning. Again, it won't be my decision unilaterally. Um, I have a deep yearning to find a structure that formalizes the DAO. Okay, so today, you know, when we say the DAO, it's a collection of NFT holders who have the ability to act in an advisory capacity via discourse and snapshot votes, via pods, um, and basically you're dependent on an implicit promise from us as the corporation and the group that is working with the community, the NFT holders, that we're going to deliver an experience and work with you to deliver an experience, and we're going to all work together to make it happen. What I'd like to do, meaning it's almost like a handshake. What I'd like to do is, to that question, fine. We're always going to have a corporation. We need that for legal and liability shield. The Wyoming DAO laws don't provide that to a corporation, from every credible expert I've spoken to, across, because we have members across 40 something states, across 50 countries, that just don't recognize Wyoming law. So that DAO structure doesn't work for the corporation by any means today. What is interesting though is how do we structure the DAO to have some sort of um, you know like form, function, and we don't have that today. In fact, that's something I'd love the community on. If that might be something to actually put a committee towards, is to create a credible structure around the DAO that moves it from kind of a loose coalition of NFT holders to something that has some grounding in some, I don't want to say corporate grounding, but some sort of specific standing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to dance around all the legal terms.
I know
that
it
it's
sounds like dancing. It's like I wish I had really clear answers in this. You could probably tell by the way I'm answering the questions that I have more discomfort with the regulations than I do with in the scenario that we're in than I do with dude, for fuck's sake, I want all this to we're gonna have the events, we're gonna have a blast, we're gonna like the people want it, you know what I mean? We are a club, and we are a community in service of one another. We're doing the things that within reason, and everything that I've seen proposed since the day we started this thing is within reason. Nobody's asking to take a rocket to the moon to hit a golf ball on there. We're doing reasonable things. We're anyway, despite all the legal verbiage and what, I feel really good. I feel better than really good, stunned by, again, it reminds me of the first day when we threw out a document, and within 12 hours had a really great working mission for what this community could look like. When we proposed this event that we're talking about today, South by Southwest, within 2-3 days, I mean, an incredible community, literally had a plan. So let's just get this thing out the door and approved.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. But I appreciate you taking the time to be careful and not get us into any legal troubles. Someone asked the question initially when you were going over your kind of walkthrough of everything. They asked who your core. You talked about core and other advisors. And they were just wondering if that was just legal counsel or just a group of professionals.
Yeah. So there's some folks who are lawyers who aren't our counsel, right? And I won't name them specifically out of respect, but these are folks who have great grounding, who have built other structures, other DAOs, investment clubs, and groups that I've spoken, as well as our core team has spoken extensively with top venture capitalists and so venture capitalists who have invested in some of the top DAOs out there, all the name brand ones you've heard of, as well as some of the leaders of those DAOs, about how they thought about their structure, the challenges they've faced, the opportunities they face. So we've talked with investors, we've talked with operators, we've talked with legal. The lawyers that we've chosen because we think they're phenomenal and among the best in the world, are the great folks at Cooley. So they're advising us on our structure and our plans moving forward. And so, I feel like we're in really, really great hands as a community. They're wonderful people. I've personally used them for previous companies, but they're considered among the best lawyers in the world. So, that's the counsel we've retained to ensure, from a corporate perspective as well as from a community perspective, that we're making good decisions that will enable us to continue to operate, execute, and hopefully have tens of millions of people doing and participating in the LinksDAO brand and community over the next 10 years.
Awesome. Yeah, I know it sounds like everyone wants a piece of us. So that's always a good position to be in. Someone else asked about the potential capability of the DAO to share any legal communications or some written advice from our lawyers, like dictating why the DAO structure should be the way, or should be laid out the way that it currently is. Just kind of wondering on the potential.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're going to start with the Q&A, meaning some questions that folks have asked, and then legal responses. I think it's a great idea. I don't think it's going to happen in the next week or two to have like a DAO Q&A or something of that nature. But yeah, I probably need more specifics. Like, it's easier to ask specific questions to answer specific questions versus broad-based ones. But I think at the highest level, what we're doing is we're the objectives of this community are to go out and buy real world assets, operate them, and basically create an incredible experience. At the same time, the initial sale of NFTs was for membership rights to participate in that community. So basically, everything that we've been doing over the last month is just, hey, how do you reconcile those two things and make sure you move forward with the right structure? But like I've seen hypotheticals of like, hey, should we like register ourselves in Panama and this, that, and the other thing? And basically, just most of the structures that I've seen proposed and hypothesized, from candidly mine and many other folks who have thought deeply about this as perspective, is, hey, if you do that, one, you're not going to have an actual legal grounding, and two, it's going to be really hard to execute on the mission, which is focus, buy the course, like get people enjoying it, buy the next course, get people enjoying it, buy the next one. You know what I mean? Like we want to create something really, really special, and it's a little. It would be difficult to do that if you're operating where you need some of the things I've seen, like basically like a receipt for every single expense kind of thing, like those types of things that or it's really hard to operate within some constraints. So what you do is you create a model where you can basically everybody has the opportunity to propose things, to vote, to put in place representatives that they believe can represent them, and then go out and execute. Hey, I see Greg jumped up, and Baz. I've been doing a lot of talking. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else wants to chat about anything I've mentioned, or we could take more questions.
Right. Thank you, Mike. We thought it'd probably be a good idea now to bring guests up on stage. So, Nate, if you want to speak up. Well, if anybody else wants to request to come up, we're taking requests at this time. Um, it actually doesn't even look like anybody wants to come up. Nobody's requesting. Okay. We got one. Hey, Toby.
Toby, what's up? I like your profile pic.
Hello.
What's up?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. I wanted to ask a question. Yeah, I've been following what's been going on with ENS. I'm a member of that group as well, and I don't want to get into the actual reason for the issues, but I am asking if any consideration's been given to what would happen if a core member of the community had some of PR fallout. What procedure would we go through as a DAO?
Yeah, it's a
Has
good
any
question.
consideration been given to that?
So it has, and I was thinking about this all weekend, Toby, because I know some of the folks on this team, and it's obviously been an unfortunate and extremely uncomfortable situation, not just for them, but for the community members and for folks in the public. The so they so what I'll say is where we're a little different, or where we're extremely different, is um so ENS around for 5+ years, right?
Yep.
And so they spent multiple years while in existence creating a specific structure to transform from call it a centralized entity to a DAO, where the DAO specifically has legal authority, legal rights, specific voting rights. You delegate your tokens to vote. And by the way, these are things that we aspire to do as LinksDAO. We're just simply not there yet. We're so we don't have a policy in place. For example, if I were to just go off the rails tomorrow night, right, and do something wild, and folks want me out, it would basically, just to be completely candid and clear, it would have to be sort of cumulative and combined social pressure that would say, hey, Dudas is not fit to serve, right? That kind of thing as our leader, versus there's no formal governance, right? By the way, the DAO could make a recommendation and would probably get voted 99-1 if I did something egregious, right? Like, what would, or 80-20 or whatever, if it was an ENS type situation, that I shouldn't be the spokesperson for the DAO. But yeah, we don't have a formal governance, like a formally binding governance structure for the DAO in place like that.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Toby.
By the way, I do think that's something that we, over the coming year, like to have a write up, like a code of conduct, and that's it's literally one of the core goals. Is part of writing membership rules for the club and what it means to get in the physical club is writing a code of conduct around how people should and must behave. And I think that's actually something that can be more than advisory and can be sort of binding in our bylaws.
Thank you, Mike. Yoshi, welcome to the stage.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Thanks, and the team for hosting this spaces. I'm also a member of Rug Radio, which is a pretty interesting project, and they're building a DAO as well. I'm curious because in their outline, the Rug DAO is actually going to be the steward of the Rug Bank, and it's gonna maintain that treasury and the tokens that the rugs generate, will go to the Rug Bank. And they have a legal team too. I'm curious why the structure of LinksDAO is a little different. And I guess, when will the future Links tokens go somewhere that the LinksDAO can like be a steward of, or why are there differences there? Or are your lawyers a lot better than theirs?
No. So good question. So a lot of it has to do with the genesis of the project, right? So, for example, in the genesis of our project, we did not say, hey, we're selling these NFTs such that there will be a DAO treasury controlled by NFT membership holders for XYZ. It sounds like, yeah, perhaps, and I have not looked at all. Farouk, I enjoy him. He's a person that I respect and really enjoy. But I don't know how Rug Radio is structured. So it's not a lawyer thing or anything. It's about effectively, it's about the promise that you make when you sort of sell the thing, adhering to what that promise is. So basically ours was, hey, we're going to go create. So we specifically said in the terms of service, you're buying a collectible. We're selling that to you. We're going to, create an incredible community. You're going to have the ability to purchase a membership at a physical golf course that we purchase, but this NFT doesn't give you ownership rights over that, blah, blah, blah. By the way, that doesn't preclude us moving forward from doing something similar to what Rug Radio is doing. So we just haven't structured it that way yet. And it's frankly not a priority because we're trying to get the funds in place right now. Our primary focus, like the thing that we're focused on, is we're raising more money to make sure that we can go out and create the greatest golf club and leisure brand in the world, right? Like, we believe that we have that in our hands because of a wonderful group that's on this conversation, that's been participating, and that's been working together and having a blast for the last 6 weeks. So we do not, I don't know what they're, by the way, like some of those projects, I'd have to read the legal terminology, but that stuff does make me nervous. I would not want to be heading up a project that has a common treasury that could be sort of spent on anything tied directly to the NFT sale. Like, maybe you know more about how they frame. That's something that I'm curious. Like, yeah.
And Mike, I would love to jump in here and state too, like I for Rug Radio, awesome projects. What we're trying to do with real world assets and golf and everything else. We have to have a balance with pragmatism, right? Like we all join this project because we want to play golf at the LinksDAO course. And I think that the way that this is all structured is for the purpose of achieving our goals, right? Than having all of the other risks and options that come along with alternative methods, or it's tough if you have a Wyoming or Switzerland data operated golf course in Atlanta or California or Texas. So wanting to make sure that we have the best path forward, professional and solid way, while giving as much power to the community as possible in advising and guiding those decisions. So every project's different.
Can I add something real quick? There's 199 people listening and no one's requesting to speak right now. I know there's a few in queue, but if you guys could ask some of your questions on the podium, I think you'll find a more thorough answer. There's like 5 of us chatting in the Podium Questions channel, which is getting really crowded really fast, which is fine. And we're happy to do that. But we can also answer those types of questions throughout the rest of the week. So I really want to encourage you, use this time that Dudas is on the podium to, come up if you're willing and ask those questions in person.
Right. Thank you. Yoshi, do you have anything to add? Any response?
No, I appreciate the thoughtful responses. And Coop, obviously, if anybody that's in the traditional business world, we understand the problem with scope creep and the fact that we're fixed and our eyes are on the prize. That's good. And Mike, from what you're saying, it just sounds like Rug Radio and Links came at the gate a little bit differently, right? I mean, we raised $10 million in a week or two, so it makes sense that we may have started differently, but in the end, it could be something similar and it could not.
Yeah,
But
the one other
it's going
thing
to be
I'll
a fun
say,
journey.
yeah, the one other thing I'll say is that I think so what I do know is if you sell a pure digital collectible, like what those guys did in like Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? And you don't have any physical mission, it's a lot clearer that you actually can, from what I understand, I'm not a lawyer, but you could use that pot of money for different things. Again, as long as it's not in furtherance of common profit, right? But for our mission, where we have this physical component, it gets much, much, much hairier and trickier.
Exactly.
Thank you,
I'm
Yoshi.
happy to jump into the podium, by the way, answer some of these questions.
Our good friend Nud asking the hard hitters.
Oh, where
Love to
is he?
see it. He's in the podium chat questions. Yeah,
Why
dude,
isn't he
we've
up
been
here?
we've
Get
been
him up
talking to
here.
him. He doesn't want to come on stage, or they don't want to
So
come up on stage.
sorry, where are the podium questions?
Right below Clubhouse in community.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find this.
Yeah.
Is he in here?
Sorry not to call you out by name. Yeah, there's a lot of important questions, right? And we definitely want to make sure that we get all of them answered in as much clarity as possible so that we can move into this next phase where we as a community in concert with the entirety of LinksDAO's organizational structure, the Discord, the pods, the working groups, the treasury, the multisig, the corp, we all focus on achieving awesome golf experiences and member benefits while we work on the mission to acquire the course.
Time to
Right?
contribute and nominate now. I'm reading Nuttin's
Yeah.
can't tell if it was snarky
Yeah.
or legit. I mean,
Oh,
now
yeah,
you can just get or you are
if you want
working
to
on
answer
the
his
DAO.
questions in verbal form here on stage,
I
that would
am.
rock
I'm just
too.
going through it. I'm just like, this is how my brain processes. Is there documentation expected in the next 2 weeks? I mean, I've asked her when the DAO would vote on leadership and decision making. There's no answer yet. Yeah. I mean, dude, chill out. Like, for fuck's sake. Like, we've been alive for like 6 weeks. Like, I mean, honestly, that's like Nutten went from sort of good spirited to ask the same question like over and over again, and like I get it. Like, I can keep telling you, like, look, we're working on it, man. So when will the DAO vote on leadership and decision making roles? Like, you've definitely gotten answers, Nutten. Like, I hope you're listening. Like, I've privately written you paragraphs saying, hey, like, we're working really hard. Coop, by the way, just to be clear, has proposed a really extensive and detailed leadership structure that goes across every community function. And we're going to be putting that up to a vote extremely soon. Okay. But you have to understand, and I think you would understand and respect this, that, with the amount of money, the number of people who really deeply care about this at stake, it would be lunacy to rush a vote before we feel like we've seen across all these different functions the right folks stepping up, and then a really credible and fair process for nomination. So we're being extremely prudent in terms of how we go to that nomination voting. We're not forcing it, and I feel really proud of the people here who continue to contribute despite the fact that they don't have a formal quote unquote leadership role. Also, I think it's important to have some sort of arbitration process. Like, I don't know. I mean, if you're willing to step up here and chat about it, chat. Like, what will we arbitrate? I'm not really sure. Like, it just feels like we're getting into really detailed, specific minutiae when we really need to be focusing on the first thing you said, which is, hey, like, let's get the leadership up here. All right, legitimate. These are legitimate questions, by the way. Corp control is not surprising at all. DAO Treasury under corporate control, not surprising. Like, I will absolutely veto that one. Tronsky, Billups, as a consideration. That's something we said from day one. We said, hey, there's a DAO and there is a corporate entity, and those two things are separate, and that the corporation sold the NFTs. The beauty of it is corp control is a legal term. It just means that the DAO can't control the funds. Like, if we want to shut this project down tomorrow, I can say, hey, the DAO controls the funds. Like, then we have to shut the project down. Like, that's not what's going on, right? What happens is this community, this wonderful group of people, puts together proposals, puts together the roadmap and the path for how we operate this thing. But yes, like, when we talk about legal control, the corporation does control it. It's not surprising. It's what we've said from the beginning. Yeah, the timing's not questionable. Like, I love how, honestly, it's some of the first times that I've read through some of these comments. Like, the number of interesting. I mean, it's just a lot of conspiracy theory stuff. Okay.
Before we move on to our next written question in the podium questions, let's give Umbo Nate a second chance here. Umbo Nate, if you want to speak, just please unmute your mic.
No. So Sunday, Links Inc. has no legal duty to the best interest of the DAO, just a handshake to take its advice. Yes, to be very specific, that's true, which is part of the reason why we've staked our human reputations on this today. But like none of us, like none of the dozens of people who are publicly doxxed and working on this project are going to, I mean, like I would argue based on what we've delivered over the past 6 weeks that our handshake is about as good as gold. And yeah, if you think we're gonna like run off today and not work in the best interest of the DAO, like you know, like you can take that bet. I just wouldn't.
Yeah, we're gonna work really, really hard to
Yeah,
make sure that
and Nudden.
everybody's
So
really
like
happy.
Nudden, like I just want to say, like you know, the last thing I'll say here, I think it's important, and I just want to state this: you have questions that were not answered. I mean, you could continue to ask me questions that are like, you could ask me like, how do I land a rocket on Jupiter? Like I couldn't answer that question, right? Like I've told you, Nudden, 50 times the things that I can answer, and I've told you the things that I can't, that I don't have answers to today. So you keep asking the same question over and over again. I'm telling you right now, I don't have an answer for you, buddy. All right? So you are annoying me. So stop asking the same question that I can't answer. You are. You're asking completely repetitive questions. All right, perfect. I'm off Nudden. Back to the chat.
What do you got? How you doing?
Hey, hello. Sorry.
Hey. Yeah, what's up?
Okay. I guess this is maybe a bit better. We've been getting specific, but this is maybe a bit of a more broad question. I guess it's just more peeking into the sort of Web3 developments and that sort of thing. I know that there were mentions of like partnering with some artists of VR golf courses and stuff of that sort. I was wondering if we could get maybe a peer into like that sort of venue a bit more.
Nate, we had a hard time hearing you. You kind of sound like you're distant from your mic. If you want to repeat the last part of your question,
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
it's still.
Try leaning into your mic a little bit.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's probably. I would best
Actually, hear
recommend.
him. I hear him just fine. It's just a little quiet, but I can hear him clear.
Okay, can you
Sorry,
hear
what
me?
was the question? Go for it.
To reiterate,
Yeah, sorry.
what he said basically
I'm just
was
more asking a bit of a more broad question, just asking if there's been any developments into the Web3 aspect of this project. I know there were mentions of like working with a one of the best like VR golf course designers and things of that sort. I was just wondering if there were any developments on that side, if you could have any update on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Bez, do we have any updates for Golf Plus or the digital golf designers, or where do we stand on that? I don't remember who made last point of contact there, but we've definitely had some really cool conversations with a bunch of people, you know, in a variety of industries from for digital golf.
Hey guys, it's Jeremiah. I think Jim was the last person running kind of point on those. He's not with us tonight, but we did have a few conversations. Maybe Bez can speak to it.
Yeah, I can hear you, Bez. Awesome. So it seems like some people may have had trouble hearing Bez. So basically, we're talking to Wilder World as well as Golf Plus to make some of those things happen, as well as other organizations. And we'll definitely keep updates on that in terms of getting Web3 metaverse golf happening in the meantime, as well as IRL golf. You know, partnerships along all those fronts. While we work to acquire the physical course for everybody to play on. So yeah, stay tuned on that. And if you're interested in pursuing that stuff, I definitely encourage you to, if you want to contribute to those conversations or even take the lead on some of those aspects, that would be a lovely place for when we launch the pod Upward Mobility. For you or anybody else who's interested in pursuing that and pushing that effort along to jump into the working group on that topic. We have a lot of great ideas on these things, and there's people out there that we love to talk to. But right now, even with the amazing contributions of the community team, there's a limit on how many people we have working. So I'm really stoked to see how much progress we can make as those things open up, and we can have more contributors working on things like that specifically. But I'll definitely work to get an update from Jim on the latest for that, and DM you. I'm gonna add you as a friend now.
Thank you for speaking, Nate. We're gonna move on to our next speaker, Terminator.
Hey, appreciate it, guys. Mike, I was hitting you in Twitter, and I appreciate you getting back to me. I think it sounds like a lot of people here, like maybe this is their first NFT project or first DAO, and maybe that's not the case. But I want to validate that you are right. It's been like 6 weeks. Like it's insane what you guys have done, and this is like one of the most outstanding DAOs that's being built. And yeah, maybe people aren't happy with the rules, but like you should have extreme validation that you guys are doing this properly. And I advise Magic Mushroom Clubhouse, the Brett Way. He's now, part of with Bento Boy and Kosher Plug, and they're kind of running more of like NFT day trading. But I've seen what they've built with their DAO over the last 6 months, and I just wanted to just give strong validation that you guys are doing the right playbook. I appreciate this, and anyone that's doubting you guys needs to just be patient and understand like this is Web3, like this is decentralized. It doesn't work like our startups or venture firms or whatever company you work at. So thank you all for what you do, and I really am glad to be part of this community.
Thank you, Terminator. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, the team really appreciates those kind words. Thank you so much. So we'll move on to our next speaker, Bomberman. If you want to unmute your mic.
On Discord, rugging us. And can anybody hear Bomberman?
I cannot.
Darn.
I cannot.
At this Discord, we've seen I don't know if anybody else has seen us glitching up here. I don't think they're having the best time right now with their podiums. So we're gonna move on to our next speaker, John Kahn.
Bomberman, if you want to post your question in the chat, we'll make sure it gets answered for you.
Absolutely. John, what's up? Had a great time meeting you in New York. What's up?
Awesome. It was a lot of fun the other night at 5 Iron. First of all, I just want to say that, the whole thing that people talk about, the handshake deal, I think that those people kind of need to understand that this is a two-way sort of trust fall, and that without the membership support, I don't believe that the whole corporate entity could even survive. So, I think that people that kind of have doubt in that area, that's one thing that understands that they need to understand is that this is definitely sort of a two-way street there.
Exactly. This whole thing is only as good as the community, and so if the corp starts operating selfishly or disingenuously, or starts behaving in a way that the membership and the DAO is not a fan of, then the whole thing crumbles. So anyone who thinks that a corporation is just going to stop acting in the best interest of 5,300 individual, wallet holders right now, is skeptical at best, and probably someone who just doesn't want this thing to succeed at worst.
Yeah, definitely. And then I did have one question though, sort of about the protocol that you guys want to have. I just kind of want to get clarification on that when it comes to reaching out to potential partners or investors that myself or other members might know that would be interested in being part of the investor group or partnerships in different areas, from events to the actual course operation, and stuff along those lines. So like what kind of protocol do you want to have there? Because I don't necessarily feel comfortable reaching out to some of my contacts on a professional level if it's not something that you guys would genuinely be interested in and burning that bridge. And also, I don't want to burn that bridge for you guys if it's something that it's not my place to sort of reach out on your behalf, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally hear that. Bez, Jeremiah, do either of you want to take that on outreach, reaching out on behalf?
Yeah, I'm happy
Sorry,
to
I was
speak to
sitting
that.
on. Yeah, go ahead, Jeremiah. Sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah, happy to speak to that. Bez and I have been working with a lot of different partners through merch, through course stuff, through inquiries, and there's been a lot of folks that have been, super helpful, super precocious, and have also just wanted to get out there and use their own expertise, whether they're tied to the golf industry, whether they're tied to merchandising industries, whether they're tied to, cool clothing companies, and a lot of other, really interesting things have been brought to the table and inbound. I think in the same vein, Dom and a few others can speak to a lot of the inbound that we received on social. So as people want to reach out to different vendors, or if they have relationships there, we welcome that. I think that most of the introductions that we've made today have been done that way. What I think is important is understanding, what type of relationship that they want to have with us or you want to explore. And I think that's important. There's a lot of different groups, whether it's, working on an event, get linked up with that right pod, whether it's talking to an influencer, see if that, Bez or myself or a few others have already reached out to them. We're going to be setting up some things so the community can start to see those partnerships. I believe there's like a Google Doc floating around with some ideas of partnerships and other things like that. So it's been publicized to a few folks, and I think that we'll continue to as we get more like formal documentation with the Notion and everything else, put that out in front of everyone so everyone has a look at how we're reaching out to people, how we're discussing people, and going through that process. So keep them coming. So if you want to reach out to a brand, or you have a connection to a brand, or you're like, hey, these are great people that I'd love to work with, or this is the type of merchandise or gear that I wear today and I feel super passionately about it, bring it in. I think that at the end of the day, I think Bez said this in the chat, that we are, we're only as good as this membership base, and it's driving the, everything that I'm looking for and all the relationships that are driving towards us. Sure, we're reaching out to people inside of our networks too, but at the end of the day, this is going to be community driven. So welcome it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and what about on the sort of the investor side? Because I know that you guys are talking to different VCs and stuff right now about that, but I know that that's probably a more sensitive area than
I'll leave
general
that to
partners.
Dudis.
Yeah, so two things. So one person asked about celebrities. We have a bunch of celebrity and very high profile partnership stuff in the works that folks will be hearing about over the next 1 to 2 months. Hard to time that stuff precisely, but just know that the inbound interest has been bonkers. So we're just trying to prioritize. We're talking about athletes and non folks in the music industry, folks in other areas who are really excited about our mission. Two, on the fundraising side, so we're going to be raising a capital, equity capital, to support the mission of LinksDAO. And the mission of LinksDAO is that we want to create the world's greatest golf club and leisure brand. The folks on this conversation, the folks here, are the Genesis members, and we're going to act in service of you. If you feel like that's not happening, you're going to tell us. Some people have told us. I get excited. I get fiery about it. I hope that you guys understand that fire comes from wanting to deliver the best experience and just feeling like, hey, we're doing a good job right now. And so you let us know if we're not. Anyway, so yes, we're beginning conversations with some of the top investors in the world over the next few days. It's a group of folks who include strategics, some of the top golf and leisure brands you can imagine in the world, celebrities, you name it, folks who want to get involved. We're going to do our best to involve folks who can participate as well from the community to the extent that we can. We're working on a mechanism to do that, and we'll have more information on that. The indications that we've seen are very good. I don't want to overpromise, but we feel we'll have the funds available to execute our mission. So we'll probably be able to give an update on that in a couple of weeks, just on how things are going. But we're entering into it, and I'll just say that one of the biggest parts of that, our ability to do that, is just the incredible community reception, and I'm confident that we're going to benefit everybody who's listening in here tonight in really amazing ways by being literally the Genesis members of something that we all believe is going to be the biggest brand in golf and leisure over the next 5 to 10 years. Bigger than even something like Top, for example, that has 30 million folks who went through their properties last year. So really excited to do this with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate the time, guys, and I appreciate everything you do.
Thanks, John. So we're looking pretty low on time here. I think we're just going to move on to 3 more questions.
I have to run at 9:15, so we'll give it 4 more, and then we're going to do a Spaces tomorrow night. So if folks want to kind of marinate on what they've heard tonight and come back with more questions, just absolutely excited to chat.
All right, so Bomberman, well, I'll give you a second try here.
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Awesome. Hey, sorry about that. Yeah. So that last comment, I think, actually partly answered my question. I think maybe some of what I'm reading, what I'm interpreting in the community, and some of the heat we're getting is, and it's totally understandable, is the difference between being an NFT holder and being an equity holder of LinksDAO Incorporated, right? And so I totally understand, right? Because the SEC and other government bodies, we don't want to get lines blurred and get into legal trouble. So the best way to do it is allow the corporation to make the decisions for our organization. So I have 2 questions on that. One, is the cap table of that organization public? And 2, you sort of alluded to it. We would be able to potentially contribute in maybe a Series A is what it sounds like is coming when you're talking to VC. So those are my questions.
What was the last thing on VC? Say that one more time.
Just that it sounds like you may be approaching VCs for a Series A. What I heard in the last comment.
Yeah, we're planning to raise funds. Just it could be venture capitalists, private equity, corporates, but folks that we want to raise funds from to ensure that those are the folks who put risk capital up to ensure that endeavors like this succeed, right? So yeah, that's who we raise from. That doesn't, by the way, impact the advisory, governance, and member determination rules, regulations, and all the things that are the purview of the DAO.
Yeah, definitely. I guess my main question is, will we have the ability to participate in equity within LinksDAO Incorporated?
Oh yeah. Sorry, you asked about the ownership. Will we make that public? I'm not sure. I actually don't think so. Like, that's an atypical thing to do. What I think we would do, though, is, as I've said, is the goal would be to have that's a separate entity that operates the golf courses, the brand, the for-profit entity. It's separate from the actual membership. But I don't know. I need to think over that one. I don't know. I don't know many private corporations that make their shareholder table public.
I mean, it's really up to the current owners of the business if they want to make their cap table public. I mean, I'm invested in a startup airline that does, but yeah, some other ones they keep their membership base private. Yeah, I mean, it's available information.
Every single shareholder and how much equity they own in the entire company.
Yes.
That's a lot of
It is,
transparency and good on
but
them.
certainly that's the difference between a private and a public company, definitely, right? Like on a true public company, right, that's traded on the stock market, you know the top holders of equity, right? In a private organization, it's up to the members who own that private organization to decide if they choose to do so. Um, you know, put transparency into the ownership of said company.
Yeah, I mean that's atypical, but definitely something to consider. It's definitely not typical, and but yeah, like I said, something to consider.
Thanks, yeah, and then just lastly, so I think you said it sounds like you guys are getting or at least approaching outside investment for LinksDAO Incorporated. Would the membership base have the ability to participate vis-a-vis alongside that?
Yeah, that's meaning like to participate in the investment on that. Yeah, that's a really good goal and objective that, like, you have my word that we're going to strive for. I want people who who are holders to be able to invest alongside in the corporation.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Really excited about the project. And again, happy to help in any way. Just please reach out.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
bro.
much, Bomber man.
So maybe one more.
Yeah, we can do one more. Let's do Van. Hello.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my question. Can you hear me?
No problem. Yep.
Yeah, okay. I was curious how transparent LinksDAO Corp will be with their financials, you know, I guess even beyond just our total treasury amount, right? That we can see through that Dune interface. So when we go to vote on like a proposal, right? How much information, I guess, are we going to be given other than, let's say, total cost of that proposal?
Yeah, it's a good question. So for now, it's basically going to stay at that level. Meaning, there might be spreadsheets that say, hey, like people who are planning it can choose to share, hey, this is what I think the budget's going to be. But the actual money movements that you're going to see are going to be like the ultimate, let's call it just like approved number, like out of the Gnosis safe. So those are very transparent, right? You're going to see the money move. But getting down to like the line item of the payment to the course or this or that, at least at the start, there will be a level of trust. We won't be sharing the line item detail unless, I mean, theoretically the project leader or the event leader could theoretically share that, but we're not mandating that.
Right. And then beyond in real life events, once we get down the road and let's say we purchase a golf course, even the purchase of the golf course, is that something we intend the DAO to be, in a sense, voting on, or what?
Yeah. So not the dollar amount per se. Like what I don't envision, for example, is a great question. I don't envision down the road, like we're not gonna put up like, hey, does the DAO approve the $17.32 million purchase? Of course, XYZ, that's not going to happen. What will happen is a much broader recommendation on, areas of interest that we're looking at, types of course, membership rules, you name it, but it's going to be much closer to advising on it. And by the way, like, I do I appreciate B-Box comment, like, hey, at Christmas time, the definition of the DAO has turned from a suggestion box for the LLC, then advisory board. Like, I feel you to some extent, I do, but I do believe that we were always clear that the ownership and the corporation would be separate from the, like, as early as Christmas. I do really, really deeply. I was saying that like on the first couple of things that was going to be separate than the than the actual membership NFT and the ability to purchase into the club. that being said, the like to date, from what I can tell, folks who are in the membership community and the DAO and have been creating like wonderful things. And what I would say is, moving forward, we wanted to just clarify. I certainly did tonight. Who ultimately that the corporation today has legal mandate to control the treasury. It shouldn't and doesn't change anything about how decisions are made within the community, the things we nominate, what we vote on, what we plan to do. Everything that I've heard is like the things that are being proposed and that are moving forward, including South by Southwest, including things happening in the technology pod. Projects like they're going to move forward, but mainly just an issue of legality here.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking my question and really taking all these difficult questions tonight. It's been good to listen to, so thanks.
Thank you so
Yep.
much, man.
And by the way, I appreciate the people in the podium. Like, I think there's a lot of people. It's fascinating to me that people think that like the notion of a decentralized autonomous organization. We've been very clear. I've said this numerous times on numerous calls. We will eventually. Their goal is to move towards being and I've said this on podcasts. So if you've listened to any of my podcasts, I've said we are not a decentralized autonomous organization today. No. Do we hope to get there in the long term? Yes. Is it realistic to think that you could achieve the mission that we are trying to achieve today by being legally, we just couldn't do it. We'd have to shut down tomorrow. Fact. But even beyond that, just from a coordination perspective, could you accomplish the mission that we're trying to accomplish? As a truly decentralized, overnight governed organization? Yeah, no, but like we didn't say that from the beginning. So, I'm excited that we've had this great discussion tonight. That folks understand the structure that exists today, and therefore, can make decisions on how they want to participate or not participate moving forward. It's really important that people do that and have the freedom of choice to be able to do it. So thank you.
Thank you for that, and thank you for all of it. And I want to elaborate a little bit more about why all this came about and why we're bringing this out is because we're about to have a awesome proposal for the community for real life golf in Texas. And we put out a poll to the members. Hopefully you saw it and responded in the members' announcements, and we're going to try and pass a proposal to play golf in Austin, Texas, March 11th through 13th. So I'm really, really stoked about until that happens, and hopefully see a bunch of you there and have an awesome time for our first official LinksDAO golf outings. That being said, really thanks to all of you on stage for your time tonight. Thanks to everybody who came up and asked a question in the podium. Thanks to everybody who wrote a question in the podium questions. We will be here in the server answering more of your questions. So, we're around and looking forward to keep building this with you. If you want to contribute, you want to get involved, reach out to me, reach out to anybody in the Discord, anybody on the mod team, the community team, and let's run it up. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you for the kind words, Coop. And we'll end it there. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Cheers.